10,000 soldiers. I said, it could be 10, it could be more, but I offered them specifically 10,000 soldiers. If they would have taken 500 soldiers, you wouldn't have had the problem. They turned it down.
They did.
And if you look at the Inspector General report, he says they turned it down. They made a terrible mistake.
Well, Chris Miller was your acting defense secretary. He says you never gave that order. But back to what happened on that day.
He
You said you weren't.
He did not say that.
He has testified that, Mr. President.
He did not say that.
And what happened in response to with Mayor Bowser? What happened when you notified her that her request had been fulfilled? What did she do with that information?
I don't know.
Did Mayor Bowser ever follow up after the agreement from the president to provide support, actually asking for that support to be deployed?
I know there was that 5 January letter that was referred to earlier that Acting AG Rosen referred to.
And this is the letter, Acting AG Rosen, this is the letter in which Mayor Bowser basically declined support. Is that correct?
Well, indicated that she thought that the police had things in hand and did not need additional support at that time.
The judge wouldn't allow us to put that in. Her dog or her cat was named Vagina. The judge wouldn't allow to put that in. All of these things, but with her, they could put in anything. Access Hollywood, Obama.
But Joe Biden didn't ignore a subpoena to get those documents back like you did.
And so that's the question. 1,850 boxes.
But that's the question that investigators have, I think, is why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's the answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple you're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
He called a black law enforcement officer a thug. He said people here in Washington, D.C. at Chinatown don't speak English. He attacked Kaitlan as a nasty woman because she was trying to get him to answer a question. Perhaps most chillingly, the day after a 9-person jury of his peers in New York found him liable for sexual battery and defamation and ordered him to pay writer E. Jean Carroll $5 million, he made fun of her account of her sexual assault. And many in the audience laughed.
And applauded. The former president making his first appearance tonight on this network since the 2016 election. He spoke with and took questions from New Hampshire Republican and undeclared voters who plan to take part in the GOP primary, and it took place just a day after.
All right, guys. So we got to talk about the highly anticipated CNN town hall with President Donald J. Trump, and it was the shit show that everybody expected it to be. Okay, it drove CNN insane. They went into complete meltdown mode after the CNN town hall. If you guys didn't notice from the intro of this video, Trump had some classic moments during the town hall. Now, I did live stream it last night. It was probably my biggest live stream ever. I had 5,000 or 6,000 concurrent viewers at one time. Thank you guys that tuned in for the live stream. I will try to live stream, town halls, debates, major events in the future. Now, I have moved the live stream over to Rumble. So if you guys want to see the live stream, it's on my Rumble. I'm doing that as a way to kind of promote my Rumble. Okay, I'm going to be putting certain content on Rumble only. Okay, and I think that live stream was a good one to just have on Rumble. So if you guys want to go to my Rumble, check it out. It is there. But today, I'm probably going to be doing some reactions to some of the reactions for this town hall. But again, like I told you guys, it was a shit show. Okay, it did not go over well for CNN because they basically tried to ambush Trump with questions that the leftist established media wanted CNN to ask Trump. Because you guys remember, going into this town hall, the leftist media, MSNBC, all these other outlets, they were complaining. They were trashing CNN for having the town hall in the first place. And they especially didn't like the fact that CNN was hosting a town hall with Trump and Republican voters. And they was going to let Republican voters ask Trump questions instead of CNN asking Trump questions. Okay? That's the way that CNN advertised this. They advertised it as fair and balanced. It is truly just a town hall. CNN is not there to, debate Trump. They're just there to facilitate the questions being asked and to moderate. However, that's not what happened. It became immediately clear from the jump that CNN was there to question Trump about all of the stuff that the mainstream liberal media feels like voters should be concerned about, not what voters were actually concerned about. Like, for example, the 2020 election and Trump's personal life, January 6th, things that voters just don't care about. They just don't give a damn about that stuff, okay? And again, CNN decided to focus at least half of the town hall on Kaitlan Collins trying to question Trump on these things. And let's just say it did not really move the needle with Trump voters at all. Take a look.
To vote, but that's what they have in common, that most of them are Trump supporters. What I want to ask you first of all is, do you think, show of hands, anybody think Donald Trump looks better after this town hall? Any of you think he looks worse? Any of you think the same thing about him as you did when you walked in? So all of you feel that way. First thing I want to ask you about, Donald Trump, does it bother you that he keeps talking about 2020 and not 2024? I'll ask you first. This is Jonathan Leslie. He's 40, Republican, voted for Trump twice. How do you feel about those lies?
So I feel like part of it's also the media narrative, as you guys asked him the first question at the town hall about the 2020 election, rather than current stuff.
So don't you think he could say it's time for me to start talking about 2024 and not lies that aren't true?
Couldn't the media ask him a question about 2024?
Well, there were questions, but you're right, that was the first thing, but that's something that was on our mind, and that's why I was asked first. Mike McGlaughlin.
Yeah, so these voters had the exact same observation that I had, that I talked about during the live stream, which is that CNN, they want to get mad at Trump for focusing on 2020, but they literally opened up the town hall with Kaitlan Collins, not the audience, Kaitlan Collins asking Trump about the 2020 election and if Trump's going to accept the result, right? Now, again, this is not what voters really care about, okay? Voters don't care about 2020 anymore, okay? Voters don't care about Trump's personal life. They don't care about January 6th, but CNN, they were obsessed with it to the point where they didn't ask any questions about crime. They didn't talk about the border enough. They didn't talk about foreign policy enough. They didn't talk about education enough. These were core issues that CNN just decided not to focus on, not to ask the Republican presidential candidate, okay, who's, again, probably going to win the primary. If the primary is held today, he's going to win, okay? They decided to focus on their grievances with Trump that don't matter to the American people rather than the actual issues. And I want to show you guys this exchange between Byron Donalds and the rest of the CNN panel after the debate, because, of course, you had people on the panel like, Van Jones, boohoo whining and crying because, again, Trump is being Trump, okay? And Byron Donalds just proceeds to destroy each and every last one of them on the fact that CNN and how they conducted this town hall is the reason why we could not talk about any core issues, is because they wanted to focus on a bunch of things that do not matter to voters. And this is probably one of the most glorious takedowns of CNN that I've seen in a long, long, long time. Take a look.
First of all, town halls are for the voters, not for the press, not for the person who's the moderator. Kaitlan spent more time interjecting her own viewpoints or her own views on the situation.
Excuse me, those are actually facts.
Now, are you guys not going to interject your views on me, or do I get a chance to speak now?
If you're speaking falsely, those were facts.
The town hall is for the president to speak to the voters of New Hampshire, not for this back and forth with media. That's number one. Hold on. That's number one. Number two, with respect to Ukraine, I totally disagree. He did not say he was just going to give over Ukraine the way you intimate, Van. He did not say that.
He didn't say what he said. He did not say that he would stand for a victory.
What he said is that he would actually look for a solution to end it quickly. He put 24 hours on it, but let's be very clear. What Joe Biden has done has been a disaster, because initially with Ukraine, Joe Biden wanted to give Vladimir Zelensky a ride out of Dodge. He wanted to give him a plane ride, and it wasn't until people in Moscow, in Ukraine, here in the United States said this invasion is wrong that Joe Biden reversed course.
Do you want a victory in Ukraine? Do you want a victory in Ukraine?
I'm just trying to respond to everything that's been coming up on the table. Last thing, let me say this. We spent 22, 23 minutes talking about January 6th. We could have been talking about a whole lot of other issues instead of doing that for the first half hour or so. But let me be very clear. What was said in this town hall about National Guard troops that were authorized by Kaitlan was wrong. I'm on the Oversight Committee. I was in 2 hearings on January 6th. It was testified in oversight that Donald Trump authorized National Guard troops on January 4. He followed up in a call with then acting Secretary of Defense on January 5, trying to see where the deployment was on those troops. That is testimony in the Oversight Committee. Everybody testified in Oversight Committee when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House, except one organization, and that was the Capitol Police.
Did you read the
because
Secretary
Nancy
of Defense's
Pelosi would
book?
not allow that. I'm telling you what was testified to in the Oversight Committee under oath.
Well, let me just correct you, because what Kaitlan was saying was what the former Secretary of Defense wrote in his book. He said the president did not.
I am telling you what he testified to under oath. In the Oversight Committee.
Congressman, can I just
ask? Are the facts. Go ahead.
You do acknowledge Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, correct?
Again, we're going to continue to talk about 2020.
No, I mean, it's a direct
right
question.
Now, hold on. Let me tell you why most voters are frankly kind of tired of y'all bringing this up. Inflation, border.
You don't have the courage to express your opinion about what
happened. I'm a Republican voter. I'm a Republican voter.
Voters want to talk about inflation, the border, fentanyl, the debt ceiling, foreign policy. If you want to talk about the 2020 election, let's talk about this. We do know that Mark Elias was in many jurisdictions suing to actually change election procedures, which, by the way, is at the hands of the state legislature in every state, according to the Constitution. Not in the hands of courts, not in the hands of the Supreme Court, the state legislature. We do know that to be a fact. We do know that true.
You won't state your opinion about factually what happened in the 2020
election.
election?
You guys want me to make a statement. This is, Frank, let me tell you right now. This is what's frustrating to a lot of people. You want me to state it the way you want me to state it.
No, I don't.
I am telling you.
I want you to just answer the question.
And the reasons behind why certain people look at the 2020 election the way that they do.
I understand why some people believe it.
Moving forward into 2024, a couple of things are very, very clear. The nation is a mess. Our border is overrun. Inflation is crippling every family. Republican, Democrat, Independent. Those are the facts of the matter in 2024, not 2020. Not 2020.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Byron Donalds single-handedly dismantled that whole panel, okay? And I absolutely loved it because this is exactly why they don't allow Trump Republicans on CNN. What you just saw there, that masterclass of Byron Donalds point by point destroying that whole panel is exactly why they don't allow Trump Republicans on the network, because that's going to happen every single time, okay? Because they spent at least half of the town hall talking about stuff that people don't care about. This is why you have these polls where you have Trump crushing Biden, okay? The polls in aggregate basically show 2024 being a tie, when historically speaking, Trump should be down, right? Trump should be down versus Biden, but he's not. He's virtually tied with Biden. He's trending up. Why is that? It's because people know that Trump was better on the core issues than Biden is, right? Everybody knows that. But instead of talking about those core issues, they wanted to focus the whole town hall on bullshit, right? And then CNN wants to get frustrated and upset when called out about it. And they want to wonder why voters are frustrated with CNN, why people are not watching CNN anymore. It's because they don't talk about real issues. For as much as they criticize Fox News actually talks about real issues. They talk about inflation every day. They talk about crime every day. They talk about the border every day. And people want, well, why do people watch Fox News? Well, people watch Fox News for that reason, right? Now, Fox News is going through some things, right? They're going through a boycott. But I'm just saying, they still have a sizable audience compared to CNN. CNN doesn't have an audience because they've lost their way. They're trying too hard to be MSNBC. And even when CNN gets something right, like having this town hall with Trump, they still can't execute it right because they're too busy trying to out MSNBC, trying to do what the mainstream liberal media and the leftist journalists want them to do, which is to turn the town hall from a town hall into a debate, right? Between Kaitlan Collins and Trump, right? A real-time fact-checking session, which is not what people signed up to watch. People sign up to watch the President of the United States answer questions from voters. So when CNN comes out here and they want to complain about, well, Trump is still focused on 2020. That's not Trump's fault. That's your fault. You opened up the town hall with that question. That's what you opened up the town hall with. So it's really your fault that you spent all this time talking about this stuff. You wasted the American people's time. You wasted the voters' time. And again, these people are so shocked and surprised that Trump is up in the polls. Yes, because people don't care about these issues. People don't care about the scandals. They don't care about any of that stuff. That stuff has no material effect on people's lives. Zero, none. But yet, that's all CNN and MSNBC, that's all they want to talk about. That's all they want to talk about. So, like I said, man, what you just saw there from Byron Donalds is exactly why they don't allow Trump Republicans. I mean, he fact-checked them on everything, even coming down to January 6th and the National Guard. How this man is saying, look, in the Oversight Committee, sworn testimony, yeah, this is what happened. Trump authorized this. So you can't sit and come up here and say that he didn't do it when in the Oversight Committee, we have sworn testimony that this is what was happening.
As I affectionately call her, Crazy Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington were in charge, as you know, of security, and they did not do their job. They're not in charge of the National Guard. You're in charge of the National Guard. Well, I offered them National Guard. I said, we'll give you soldiers, we'll give you National Guard, we'll give you whatever you want, and they turned me down.
And in fact,
she turned me down. She turned me down in writing. They turned me down.
But your acting defense secretary, Chris Miller, at the time, he says you never gave a formal order to deploy the National Guard. But when it came to that day...
just the opposite. Chris Miller wrote a book, and he's a fantastic guy, and he was ready to go. They turned him down. If you look, the mayor of Washington, D.C., lovely lady, she said, we don't want it. We don't like the look. Right. Nancy Pelosi said, oh, we don't like the look. If they would have had I offered them 10,000 soldiers. I said, it could be 10, it could be more, but I offered them specifically 10,000 soldiers. If they would have taken 500 soldiers, you wouldn't have had the problem. They turned it down.
They did.
And if you look at the Inspector General report, he says they turned it down. They made a terrible mistake.
Well, Chris Miller was your acting defense secretary. He says you never gave that order. But back to what happened on that day. You said you weren't.
He did not say that.
He has testified that, Mr. President.
He did not say that.
But you said you weren't very involved that day. You did tell your supporters to come to Washington. You tweeted about it.
And at the very end, he asked if there were any requests for National Guard support, and I informed him of Mayor Bowser's request.
Mr. Miller, to clarify that point, did you tell the president about the mayor's request, or did President Trump ask if there were requests?
He asked if there were requests.
What was the president's response to you with regard to the request made by Mayor Bowser?
Fill it and do whatever was necessary to protect the demonstrators and that were executing their constitutionally protected rights.
Okay. And what happened in response to with Mayor Bowser? What happened when you notified her that her request had been fulfilled? What did she do with that information?
I don't know.
Did Mayor Bowser ever follow up after the agreement from the president to provide support, actually asking for that support to be deployed?
I know there was that 5 January letter that was referred to earlier that Acting AG Rosen referred to.
And this is the letter, Acting AG Rosen, this is the letter in which Mayor Bowser basically declined support. Is that correct?
Well, indicated that she thought that the police had things in hand and did not need additional support at that time.
They had no rebuttal for outside of, well, his acting Secretary of Defense in a book said that he didn't do it. Well, what's more legitimate? Sworn congressional testimony or a book, right? What's more legitimate? Again, you see the bias from CNN here. They're going to go with a book before they go with sworn testimony. And then they want to spend 20 minutes of a town hall talking about it, arguing with Trump about something like that. Again, then they wonder why their ratings are suffering. Again, they can't get it right. All they had to do is just go out there and then let Trump answer the questions from the audience. And Kaitlan Collins should have sat there, nodded and smiled, moderated the questions to make sure that everything was going in an orderly manner, and that's it. But no. She got up there prepared to debate Trump, and that's why it ended up being a disaster. That's why it ended up being an embarrassment for CNN. It didn't move the needle. Nobody's mind changed. We didn't get anything out of it because, again, they wanted to conduct the town hall like a debate. They tried to ambush Trump instead of doing what they said they was going to do. So again, CNN definitely is taking an L on this one. The American people are taking an L on it, and Trump is really unscathed, right? We really didn't get much out of it. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.